They traveled through the rocky crags in the mountains, following on the map where the chief said he had gone. Kator scouted ahead of the rest, using hand signs to signal changes in movement. That evening, as they prepared for camp, they heard movement nearby. Thoraxia felt the ground move slightly, just a tremor not noticeable by the larger pilgrims. Kator smelled the stench of decay and rotting flesh on the wind. Kator called out to the others, and Jack was already prepared, looking at the opening in the wall of the mountain. Plop. A carrion crawler slumps down from the hole onto the ground and begins crawling towards a fresh meal. The pilgrims react quickly, shooting it down just before several more crawlers plop from the hole. Thoraxia senses a nest, eggs, and dozens of adult crawlers. The adults come out at night to gather food for their grubs. Kator lures a couple crawlers away from the others.
Run, stop, turn, shoot, turn, repeat.
He chants this mantra in his head as he repeats the actions again and again. The crawlers ooze blood and guts, and in their fury catch up with the swift hunter and surround him. Unfazed, he pulls back his bow and launches an arrow at point-blank range through the skull of a crawler. He twists while knocking another arrow and shoots as the other beast crosses his line of fire. With his right hand clutching his bow, his left palm flattens against the corpse of the crawler behind him. He uses the momentum of his turn to jump, lifting his feet sideways over the corpse, keeping his bow high. He turns his arm through the jump, keeping his balance on the corpse. When he lands, he pushes off of the crawler and begins running back towards the others.
Run, stop, turn, shoot, turn, repeat.
Meanwhile, more crawlers had spilled out of the cavern and piled up near the entrance. Jack took advantage to cast black tentacles to restrain them and crush them into the ground. Most escaped, but not unscathed, and several were reduced to bloody pulp in the writhing mass. Silently spins, cartwheels, roundhouse kicks, and karate chops a veritable wall of carrion crawlers, delaying them and giving Jack space to cast more spells. The lithe goblin moves too fast to the crawlers to grab hold of, but the nearby druid is not so lucky. Nyx is repeatedly hit by the paralytic sting of their tentacles, falling down, being bitten, rolling away, just to get up and get knocked down again. The gnome cares not for his life though, not now, for his familiar worm is in mortal danger. Nyx continues to fight and get in close with as many crawlers as he can to keep them away from Worm, who had been taken down and was bleeding out quickly. The druid's hands spark with power, and lightning blasts down from the sky, striking several of the adults that had escaped the tentacles. One of Jack's invisible hounds was barking and biting, distracting a crawler or two, trying to save Worm, but his efforts were not enough. There were too many of them. Jack's witch bolt connected with a crawler, and its flesh sizzled and burned. The giant grub-like crawler inched towards him, smoke rising from wounds as it burned from the inside out. Before it could reach the mage, nothing was left but a smoldering corpse. Then an arrow shoots past and hits a crawler, and lightning strikes where it connected, incinerating several crawlers. Silentfee's fist smashes through the skull of a crawler. The goblin twists and lands on its head, using his free hand to draw his magical saber. Phew, the glowing blade extends from the small handle, and the goblin swipes at another crawler, severing its head from its body. Jack pulls out his ancient wand, points it at the crawlers between him and Worm, and shouts,
"Magic missile!"
Blast after blast erupts from the tip of the wooden wand, burning holes through each crawler in the area, until Worm is left alone at the center of a pile of corpses. A few more arrows and spells mop up the remainder of the nest defenders, then the team gets to work. Kator makes sure Nyx is healed, and Nyx cares for Worm. Jack inspects the cavern entrance and determines there is nothing in there beyond slime and eggs. They begin piling the corpses at the entrance, and Kator begins hacking off the paralytic tentacles from the bodies. He fills some of Jack's jars with the tips, then piles the rest in the clear cloth he found in the Underdark. Tying the corners of the fabric together in several knots, the ranger attached the makeshift bag to his backpack.
Who wants the honor of lighting up that nest?
Asks Kator. In response, Nyx's hands burst into flame, and Jack takes out some oil from his bag. Jack smashes a few bottles of oil on the sides of the cavern and shatters a few more on the pile of corpses. Then Nyx lets loose an onslaught of fire, igniting the pile, spreading the fire into the cavern, and releasing a tower of smoke into the air. They look up and see a second tower of smoke rising from the mountains, which must be another entrance into the nest. They gather their things and continue on the trail, aware that they will need to find a safe place to rest soon. Kator wakes up alone, uncertain of what has happened. He recognizes the hive cave, but there is no ash from yesterday's fire. His backpack is abnormally heavy, so much so that he cannot lift it. He grabs a feathered chicken leg from a pocket and tosses it a dozen feet away before it transforms into a wooden house supported by a singular giant chicken leg. He loads most of the party's wealth into the house and instructs the beast to return to the grassy village where Leonis was left to train with the priests. He dons his newly lightweight pack and heads into the cave, hoping to find his companions. Instead, he finds rats, spiders, an ettercap, and a book with a green gem on the leather cover. When he opens the book, humanoid fingers reach out. He drops it on the floor as a snake-eyed female Yuan Tai climbs out of the pages. She is pale, with white hair, gold eyes, white scales, and covered in origami paper armor, which quickly falls away to reveal the fabric clothing underneath. The book turns to dust before either of them can react. Kator and Hikari introduce themselves, and Hikari explains that she was falsely imprisoned in that book and doesn't know how much time has passed. Kator mentions his companions and their quest to find the king of the giants, as well as the prophecy of the soldier of life who is dead and the soldier of death who is alive, who must unite with the pilgrims of Four Corners to defeat the evil god Temorglum. The duo explore the cave together, hoping to find clues about what happened. When bats harass them, Hikari launches a large fireball into their midst, filling the air with the stench of burning bat hair and flesh. Deeper in the cave are more mysteries, including a large tentacled being who warns them to leave his home, and a human-sized chessboard with a message written in blood. Thori fell here. Dobby appears from the shadows and reluctantly admits that he escaped while the others were taken captive, and he has been waiting for someone else to come rescue everyone.
There was a puff of cloud after the Kyriad crawler fire, and almost everyone was dragged away unconscious, while I played dead.
They sneak around, kill more rats, find some goblins playing dice, and a barred pit in the rough stone floor containing a familiar face. They rescue Perrin, ripping his robes in the process, but Hikari is able to magically mend them in an instant. The four of them try to strategize a rescue attempt on the others, without knowing the layout of the cave, and are sidetracked by a conversation about geography. None of the location names Kator brings up are familiar to Hikari, and none of them are sure where the Meat Mountains are in relation to Edosi Forest. Before they continue, they get their bearings by debriefing each other. Kator explains their death and reincarnation in the sewers of Rotidido. Hikari asks for more information about the prophecy. Dobby says a vampire told them about it. Hikari asks about him and suggests it could be the same Tam Cherrywood she knew in her time. Dobby leads the team toward more of their captors, and they stumble upon grey oozes. Once neutralized, the oozes dissolve, leaving the unconscious bodies of Nyx and Worm on the ground. Perrin dispels their magical sleep and helps clean them. A cavern nearby has a horde of zombies reaching up toward a stone pedestal where Jack is cowering. Hikari blasts the horde with a fireball, and Perrin uses Featherfall to help Jack down safely. Kator motions to Hikari and says,
Jack, meet Hikari. She came out of a book.
The group finds Silenfi through a square hole in the ceiling, laying in grass. An old decayed trebuchet acts as a pole for him to climb down. A few skirmishes later, the pilgrims rescue Elsa and try to find a safe exit from the cave network. On their way, they encounter a talking statue.
Loved more than life, feared more than death or mortal strife, what dead men have and rich require, what contented men desire.
Kator says,
Contented men desire nothing.
Keep it, never ages, once gone, gone forever.
Hikari says,
A secret.
Perrin inspects the statue, snaps off a finger, and is surprised when it bleeds and screams. Hikari reattaches it, and Nyx unpetrifies the human statue. The box in the statue's pedestal is given to them as reward for freeing the man from his eternal prison. An hour later, an Ortuche, a pile of rotting meat and slime, grabs Dobby and Hikari, but is quickly blasted by the whole party. Shortly after, they find airflow and follow it to the grassy plains outside. Nix cooks the red egg from Kator's backpack and gets sick because it is rotten. While resting, the group explains the red fungus plague to Hikari. She offers to magically identify their various unknown items taken from their long adventure. As they finish their meal, the ground shakes and cracks open. Perrin plummets 5 stories and hits the floor with a sickening thud. Nix rushes down and saves his life, but he seems to have severe brain damage. Elsa and Dobby stay to protect Perrin, while the others scout the corridors attached to this hole in the ground with archaic pre-Elven runes on the walls. The scouts encounter a group of rival adventurers who use rolling bombs from around a corner. However, the bombs seem barely more than firecrackers to the pilgrims. Kator grabs one of the rivals and holds them while a bomb goes off. Damaging the rival much more than himself, he heals the young rival and tries to speak with the rival group. Jack helps them pass the language barrier, and they find out that this is a multi-level labyrinth, and the rivals hail from a village on the lower levels. They think the above ground has been poisonous and dangerous for thousands of years. Their farms are fouled and empty, and their people are starving. They are one of the teams sent out into the unexplored labyrinth to search for other food sources. The pilgrims share some vegetables with the scouts. A tall man in plate armor eats a potato as if it were an apple. He tells Kator and Hikari a story about an ancient earthquake, which became a worldwide apocalypse.
Anyone who ventures above ground is turned to dust. The king of the giants lost his wife to the apocalypse. Then he helped create the underground civilization.
The scouts display some of their chunky porridge-like health potions, which the pilgrims see are much slower acting than the liquid type. The tall man tells Kator and Hikari about how his wife was one of the people killed during the search for food. A young thief speaking to Jack doesn't believe that the pilgrims have actually seen the sun. He claims,
"No one has seen the sun in generations."
Kator convinces the tall man to go with them back to where Perrin got injured, so they can see the sun for themselves. During the walk there, Hikari and Kator have a telepathic conversation about how certain spells don't function the same now as they did in her time.
Comprehend languages used to only impact the caster. I will have to study how Jack casts it so I can use it on others as well.
She says. The tall man and his young scouts observe the sun from the bottom of the hole and say they must inform the town and the king of this. The pilgrims offer to protect the scouts in exchange for a guide to the town. En route, they are attacked by a yochol, a slimy demon who appears almost fungus-like. It bellows yellow mist, which Nix gusts away. Banishing the creature doesn't work, but lighting it on fire reveals its true form as a drow.
Do you surrender?
Asks Kator.
Can't hear you.
It's lying.
Asserts Kator.
No, I'm not.
Says the drow.
Feel free to run away.
Offers Kator. The group continues on through the winding corridors, trusting the scouts with directions. Hikari has another telepathic conversation with Kator about Jack.
I've never heard of a wizard who doesn't know how to cast Fireball. Why would he not learn this basic spell?
She asks.
He used to be a private investigator and focused his studies on utility spells like Blade Ward, Knock, Expeditious Retreat, and Comprehend Languages. On our journeys, he picked up Witch Bolt, and that became his go-to spell for combat.
Replies Kator. The scouts lead them over a large hole in the floor, jumping across and reaching out hands to help each other with the landing. Jack misses and quickly casts Windwalk to stop himself from falling to the floor below. They make it safely down some stairs and through many more corridors before the tunnel opens up to a cavern. Several stories above them is mostly rock, with a small beam of light coming down, landing on a patch of farmland at the edge of the town. A small stream runs through the center of town. Its source is a waterfall on the far side of the cavern near the light. Bordering the farm are some insectoid livestock, giant beetles and massive centipedes.
Welcome to Needale.
Says the tall man.